April 10th, 2000. My first flight as an airline pilot. And we're surrounded by thunderstorms, getting pummeled in rain and hail, and lightning is filling up the sky. All of a sudden, crack, the sound was deafening. And the flash momentarily blinded us. And we knew we'd been hit by lightning. And for a brief second, I thought I could die. But I knew if I died that day, I would die happy. Because I was living my dreams. I had made it to be an airline pilot, and I had all of my dreams. Because I wanted them all bad enough that I never gave up. Growing up, I was average. Average brains, average looks, average personality, average skills, average talents. I was so average, I was almost invisible. But I had average phobia. And I had my mother's blood running through my veins. She had started to train to be an air service pilot during World War II. I wanted to be a pilot. To fly for the airlines. Only one slight problem then, women weren't airline pilots yet. This was 1970. Everybody said, Karen, this is impossible. So I put that dream up on a shelf. But no one told a young woman named Emily Warner. And in 1972, she became the first woman airline pilot for Frontier Airlines just up the road. Maybe nobody told her, or maybe she just didn't listen. 1978, I was 24 years old. I came home and told my family, today's the day. I'm going to train to be an airline pilot. And my mom just smiled. She said, finish what I started and fly for me. I took my first lesson that next day and I never looked back. But that's when I started to hear the voices. You know these voices, all those friendly, helpful people that want to give you all that free, unsolicited advice. Karen, you'll never make it. You're too old. They won't hire you past the age of 29. How are you ever going to have a family and fly for an airline? You won't make it. But I had perfected a technique over the years to deal with these kind of voices. I can't hear you. Very effective and very scientific. 9 years later, at the ripe age of 33, well past that 29-year cutoff, I was hired by US Airways. Against all the odds. I married my soulmate at 34 against all the odds. I gave birth at 41 to a terrific baby boy against all the odds. We were living in a beautiful custom home in the Boulder foothills. My husband was also a pilot. And on my days off, I was teaching handicapped people to ski. I was satisfied in every area of my life. I was living all of my dreams because I wanted them all bad enough to never give up. Now, if this were Hollywood, I'd be flying off in my jet off into the sunset. But this is real life. This isn't Hollywood. Do you remember where you were on September 11th, 2001? We all do. It's etched in our memories. I was learning to fly the exact same type of jet that flew into the Twin Towers and the Pentagon and that field in Pennsylvania. Same type of jet. US Airways parked airplanes and laid off 2,000 pilots. 2,000 pilots went on the street. I lost my captain position. My husband still had his position at America West. We were lucky to have a job. I lost a third of my pay. But we were lucky to have a job. We decided to become proactive. Let's get rid of that big house in Boulder. Gold mine, right? Well, it was a depressed market. But we got out, we got it sold. trailer while we built a modest home, so it would give us options. We didn't know what the airlines were going to do. But there came the voices. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to live in a trailer where there's no running water, there's no well, and there's no septic? You're nuts! And of course we used that favorite technique of, I can't hear you. One day we were sitting in our wine cellar in our custom home in Boulder, sipping a glass of wine. The next week, we were living in a 31-foot trailer with 2 Labradors and an 8-year-old for 16 months through one Colorado winter. What an adventure. But we were laughing all the way to the bank. 2004, we settled into our little home. U.S. Air declared bankruptcy. And the judge allowed them to take away my retirement. It was legal. Wasn't right, but it was legal. My career continued to spiral downward. And by the next year, we hit a crossroad and realized that I would only be home 4 or 5 days a month. I had already missed out on birthdays and school plays and baseball games with our son. I was on a trip when our nanny had to rush into the emergency room because he was bitten by a dog and it almost took out his eye. I was on a trip. It wasn't worth it anymore for our family. So at 52, I walked away from my dream career, my passion, because I didn't want to think at 80 years old, I had a great career, but I didn't know my son. They say that it's much easier to walk away from a career than to be laid off. No. The depression runs just as deep. And the drugs helped for a while. The shrink said I was mourning the loss of my career. I threw myself into volunteer work. I helped at school with kids with reading and volunteered with handicapped people and horses. Helping other people had helped me in good and bad times through my whole life. Helping other people made me feel so much better and felt satisfied. But something was missing. I got into martial arts with my son. We became black belts together. But something was still missing. I started exercising again. And that saved my life. Because I got off the drugs. It had saved me in college when I was anorexic. And it saved me again. And I had a passion for it. Stop.